Larry is the from the South Jersey, actually Philadelphia area. As he mentioned, he lives in Jersey, works or lives in Philly, works in Jersey, and he is currently he's an attorney and the executive vice president of the Mid Atlantic region, and he is also the chair of the FJMC Sefer Haftarah program. And we're here this evening to talk about the Sefer Haftarah program. Larry, take it away.
Thanks, Crichton. Yeah, I'm since last year have been running the Sefer Haftarah committee, and the genesis of this program was that Rich Neb in Florida, who I think's on, was promoting the Sefer Haftarah, which will be in his region in February and March, and he said a lot of the guys he was talking to asked, "What is the Sefer Haftarah?" and suggested that I do a webinar to explain it and help promote some interest. At the end, I'm going to get specifically to what the FJMC Sefer Haftarah is, but I thought I would start off just in general, some background on the Haftarot and what they are, and compare them to the Torah readings, etc. If anyone, as Crichton said, has any questions, comments, or corrections at any point, please feel free to stop me and make your points. I'm embarrassed to admit that my main source for this presentation is Wikipedia. So if I have something wrong, please let me know.
Blame Wikipedia.
We can give better information. So the word Haftarah literally means parting or taking leave. And that's because the Haftarah is read on Saturday mornings at the concluding part of the Shachrit service. And it marks the dismissal of the congregation from the first part of the service. Now, I guess that's not technically true anymore. I know in my synagogue, we read the Haftarah, and then there's usually a prayer for our country, and a prayer for the state of Israel, and the Ashrei, and returning the Torah to the Ark, and then the rabbi gives a sermon before Musaf. But I guess historically, at least, the Haftarah was the conclusion of the Shachrit portion of the service before you started Musaf. And to really explain the Haftarah, I have to give some context. So the Hebrew Bible is called the Tanakh, and that includes three parts. The T is the Torah, which is the 5 books of Moses. The N is Nevi'im, which are the prophets, and the Ketuvim are the writings. So starting with the Torah, those are the 5 books of Moses. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. And the Torah covers the creation of the world, which we read a couple of weeks ago in Breshit, the beginnings of Genesis. And it goes all the way to the death of Moses before the Jewish people enter the promised land. The Torah reading is read from the beginning of the year. We're starting right after Simchas Torah. We start the Torah every year. And then we read the entire Torah over the course of the year. Many synagogues now, they divide the Torah portions into thirds. So you read a third one year, and then the middle third the next year, and then the final third another year. But the idea is over the course of a year, you cover the entire Torah reading. There's also special Torah readings for Rosh Chodesh, for the beginning of each month. The Torah readings are read every Saturday morning. Saturday afternoons, you usually read the Torah reading for the next week, and then Monday mornings and Thursday mornings. And the Torah is the word of God as conveyed to Moses. And the Torah is really the literal source of Jewish law. The rabbis in the Talmud, they take what's said in the Torah and they elaborate on it, and they come up with a whole code of Jewish behavior. And so before I get into the Haftarah, I want to explain what the specific attributes of the Torah reading are. First of all, the Torah reading, the full 5 books of Moses are contained in one scroll. You start on one end at the beginning of the year and go to the other end. In Hebrew, there's no punctuation in the Torah. It's just the letters. There's no vowels in the Torah reading, and there's no musical notes. When you read the Torah reading, if you look into a separate book, there are musical notes associated with each word, but in the actual Torah itself, there aren't any notes. Those have to be memorized. The Torah reading is chanted in a major key, and it ends in a minor key. And usually the Torah reading is someone who's pretty experienced, because it takes a lot of practice and experience to be able to read the Hebrew without the punctuation and the vowels, and to memorize what the musical notes, etc. So that's the Torah reading. And then we have the Nevi'im, of the prophets. And the prophets are divided into 3 sections. First section are the former prophets, and that's Joshua, the book of Joshua, the Judges, Samuel, and Kings. And then you have the latter prophets, which are Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel. And then we have 12 minor prophets, which I have on the slide. You can read those. I'm not going to go through each one. And the prophets, it's not the word of God, but they're divinely inspired. The prophets, spoke to God, and their books that they prepared are based upon their inspiration. So the Haftarot, which is what we're talking about today, they come from the prophets, the Nevi'im. And there are usually selected readings for each Shabbat. And there are also special Haftarot for holidays and fast days. And usually there's some link between the weekly Torah reading and the Haftarah reading. So I looked up, so this Saturday coming up, we're reading Vayera from Genesis, from Bereshit. And in Vayera, it starts with, there's 3 men who appeared to Abraham, who he takes to be messengers from God. And he shows them great hospitality. And based upon that hospitality, they deliver the message that Abraham's wife, Sarah, will have a child. And when Sarah hears that news, she laughs, because she's past the age of menstruating, and Abraham's old as well. And Abraham says, well, don't you believe in God? Why'd you laugh? And then she denies that she laughed. But then lo and behold, they do have a child following the visit from these 3 men. And that's the beginning of the era. And at the end of the Torah reading, we have the story that we read on Rosh Hashanah as well, too, about the binding of Isaac, where God comes to Abraham and tells him to sacrifice his son. And Abraham and Isaac climb the mountain, the 2 of them. And Isaac is put on the altar and is about to be sacrificed when, again, a messenger from God appears and tells Abraham that God doesn't want his son. And a ram appears, and Abraham sacrifices the ram instead of his son. So the Haftarah reading for the era, which we read on Saturday, is somewhat similar. The Haftarah reading comes from 2 Kings, and it's about the prophet Elisha, who receives great hospitality from a woman who has no children. And Elisha tells her that she's going to have a child, and she doubts that because her husband is old. And lo and behold, she does have a son, following what Elisha tells her. And then a few years go by, and the son appears to have passed away. And the woman calls for Elisha, who comes, and she prays, and the child is restored for life. So you have a lot of parallels between the Torah reading and the Haftarah reading. We have in both cases, we have in one case a prophet, the other the messengers from God are shown great hospitality. They deliver a message to a woman who has been unable to conceive that she is going to conceive. She actually conceives as a result. And then at the end of the Torah reading, we have the story of Isaac, who was almost killed and then is saved. And similarly, at the end of the Haftarah reading, we have a boy who appears to have passed away, who then survives as well, too.
Read the Haftarah because they wanted to conceal the Torah and keep it safe. And so that's how the Haftarah became important.
Say that again. I'm sorry. I missed it. Could whoever said that repeat that, please?
I guess it's Jose was my.
Oh. Listen to my question. Repeat it. I thought that the Haftarah was used because they wanted to keep the Torah separate and safe. So that's how the Haftarah readings came about.
Right. So the actual origins of the Haftarah are unknown, is what I read.
Okay.
But one theory is that the Haftarahs began at a period of time, maybe during the Assyrians, where we fought on Hanukkah, outlawed the study of Torah. So to get around that prohibition, the rabbis taught Haftarah instead, and they looked for specific readings from the prophets that paralleled the readings in the Torah. I'm not sure if that's true. And according to what I read, there are some people that think that actually can't be the case. It doesn't quite make sense. But that seems to be the main theory on where the Haftarah readings each week come from.
Yeah, the only thing I've seen is consistently that nobody really knows for sure where it came from or why we started doing it.
Yep. So if we contrast the attributes of the Haftarah reading with the Torah reading, first, for the Haftarah readings, there is punctuation, there are vowels, and there are musical notes right on the text that you can read when you're at services on a Saturday morning, which makes it much easier. As opposed to the Torah reading, which is read in a major key and ends in a minor key, the Haftarah is chanted in a minor key, and it ends in what's called a pentatonic mode. And don't ask me what a pentatonic mode is. I don't know. The Haftarah reading is read by the last person called to the Torah, or the maftir, which is where that word comes from. And as opposed to the Torah reading, which is usually a fairly experienced reader, often the reader is inexperienced, which is why often a bar mitzvah boy or a bat mitzvah girl will do the Haftarah reading for their bar or bat mitzvah. And then finally, the Ketuvim, those are separate from the prophets and from the Torah readings. Each one of them is a separate scroll all to itself. And the Ketuvim are associated with holidays. So for different Jewish holidays, we read one of these scrolls. The most famous is we read the book of Esther at Purim. Passover, we read the Song of Songs, which is kind of, some erotic, love poetry, that compares kind of, eroticism with God's love for the Jewish people. Shavuot, we read the book of Ruth, who was a convert to Judaism, who King David is descended from. On Tisha B'Av, we read the book of Lamentations, which talks about the destruction of the temple. In Sukkot, we read from the book of Ecclesiastes, which is probably even more depressing than Lamentations. You have the speaker is supposed to be King Solomon, talks about how everything is futile and you can't find any meaning in wealth, health, money, or anything, and ultimately concludes that the only thing worthwhile is what we get from following mitzvot of God. So what specifically is the FJMC Sefer Haftarah? It goes back to the early 2000s, and it's a scroll, an actual scroll, just like a Torah scroll, that contains all the Haftarot readings. And it starts with, the beginning of the year. So the Haftarot from Genesis goes to the end, and the FJMC Haftarah has those and all the special Haftarot you read, on other holidays like Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah, and other for Rosh Chodesh, for other special events of the year. They're all contained in this scroll that FJMC had prepared that I think came from Israel.
Larry,
Yes.
are they all within a single scroll on the
Yes.
FJMCs? I don't remember because my synagogue bought one from the FJMC a long time ago, and we actually have two scrolls. One is the holidays, and one is the regular readings.
They're all there in one
This
scroll.
one has them all in one. Okay, I couldn't remember. I figured you'd know.
When I first started last year, I got the Sefer Haftarah, and actually I went through and inventoried with it and made a list of all the different readings that were in there. And since the Sefer Haftarah, it travels the country. It goes to different regions, and your region president, can contact the different clubs there, and it can go to the different clubs during the period that it's there. And it's available for people to use for their men's club Shabbats, for their retreats, for showing to your religious school and the kids there. And right now, it was in the Connecticut region. It's either in the New York metro region now or on its way there. Then it'll be at LDI in January, and then it's going to go down to Florida, for a stay there, and ultimately it'll make its way to the convention in Chicago next year. As I said, it's available to men's clubs for services and educational purposes. And in addition, if your club would like, you can dedicate a portion of the Haftarah. Now, most of these specific readings have already been dedicated, but there are a few that haven't. And if you're interested in that, we can have a scroll, write the name of your club into the book. And there's also an opportunity. So I think maybe there's a page that says Genesis, another page that has Exodus, and that can be dedicated as well. But I believe the other, chapters like Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy don't have sponsors, so we can do that as well too. So, any questions or comments?
I have a question.
Sure.
How long have they been making these Haftarah scrolls? Because I've only experienced them recently, in the recent couple of years. So does it go back a long way? They've been making these scrolls for a long time.
Yeah, I'm not certain. I know this particular one goes back maybe to 2004 or 2003, something like that. I'm sure there were Sefer Haftarot before that, and I've seen others. So, for example, my synagogue has one as well too. I don't remember them so much growing up, so it may be a more recent phenomenon. Does anyone else here have an idea?
I think you're correct, Larry. I know that at least through the FJMC, it was around early 2000s, is my recollection. I mean, at some point, I think all the things like this were on scrolls going back thousands of years. It's easier than books, but as far as the modern use of it, I really haven't seen one. Anybody else that's been, kind of around at different shows, other than the FJMC ones at conservative synagogues that I've been to that have them, I really haven't seen any others. I'm not saying they don't exist, but it's not something that I've seen. I agree. I didn't grow up with it. And again, when I travel, I've been, not everywhere in the country, but I generally go to services when I travel, and I haven't seen one elsewhere. So, my belief is that they're not particularly common or prevalent. And we actually had a sofer in Israel that made them for us. And that was where this came from. And I believe, I don't want to give bad information, but I believe he passed away. But I could be wrong. So I know that they're not easy to get. At least this iteration is not easy or even possible to get right now.
Moshe, did you have a question?
Yes. Yeah, comment. I did hear that there are scrolls with the Haftarot. My father said it's called a Navi because it's Nevi'im. I've never actually seen one, but I've heard that they exist. It's written like the Torah scroll without the vowels and the punctuation and everything. But I've never actually seen one. So,
okay. Yeah, our Sefer Haftarah has the vowels and the musical notes, the cantillations as well.
Yeah. This is Stuart Prost. I have a question. How do you go about reserving, or is it possible for a men's club? Let's say it mentions like Shabbatot. We have one at Bethel in Norfolk. Usually have a Men's Club Shabbat every year, and of course we do the whole service. Is there any way to reserve this for that Shabbat, and how does that work?
Yeah, it can't be in like, more than one place at a time, and we try to do a schedule to go to all the regions. But if you're interested and there's a particular date you're interested, you should have your regional president contact me, and we can try to work it into the schedule.
Okay, well, something we haven't decided on anything, and the other part is that it doesn't sound like it's going to go to Seaboard region this year, then, and it's not scheduled to.
No, it was in Seaboard earlier this year, following the LDI. So I'm trying to send it to other places as well. So after Florida, I think the plan is to send it to the KIO or KO region, and then they'll go to convention. But after that, I haven't planned anything yet. So certainly, if you're interested, have your regional president contact me, and we can.
Well, maybe we can look at 2026 then.
Yeah, or it's possible. We can come up with something. You're in Virginia, you said?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's possible. Following LDI, we're going to Florida. Maybe we can, we can make a stop there before it goes to Florida, or before.
Well, we'll route it through our regional president then. Thank you.
Sure.
I have a question.
Sure, Lester.
I know with the Torahs, there's certain rituals when you handle the Torah scroll. Is there certain rituals for this, or is it? And it's probably more lax than when handling the Torah, but.
Yeah, I don't think there are specifically, but our FJMC has come up with some, and Ken, what's his name, Turkowitz in the New England region.
He came up with something. So
yeah, it's like special prayers for like holding it up and putting it away and stuff, right? Go ahead, Creighton. I'm sorry.
It's fine. It's going to depend on your Klei Kodesh. There is no Hagba, Galila, prayers or anything else that are for the Haftarah that we've ever seen. A number of years ago, I was the ritual chair for, I don't remember. I've been ritual chair for like everything at some point or another. But at one of them, I talked to Rabbi Simon, who was our Mara Da'atra and executive director. And we had a long back and forth about what would be appropriate or not. And ultimately, we just decided for purposes of like LDI, et cetera, that it's just treated almost like a book. So it comes out, but we don't do a Hagba or Galila or anything like that. At my synagogue, it does, we take it out on the Hakafot with the Torah. So usually there's somebody carrying the Torah and somebody carrying the Haftarah. When we take out a Torah for Yitzker, for example, we generally take them both out. And it's really nice because it's not heavy. So we often have ladies, or I'm a gabbai at my synagogue all the time, and it's amazing how many guys I go up to. I'm like, "Hey, could you carry it?" No, I'm not. I don't have the strength, my back, whatever. Like, would you like to carry the Haftarah? Of course, that would be great. So it's really nice in that we let people hold it and carry it, and some people kiss it like they would a Torah, some don't. But as far as actual Hagba, Galila, any of that, we don't do it. Whoever the officer of the day is generally just kind of gets up after they're done reading it and rolls it back up. And then we just, again, it's treated in terms of procession, et cetera, but there is no prayer or anything else, just the standard blessing before the Haftarah, blessing after the Haftarah. That's how it is. Yeah, go ahead.
I think there's a cantor in Massachusetts who did write a couple of things that can be used with the Sefer Haftarah. Yeah. And I think we posted those on the website. If not, I have them and I can send them.
I think they are, right. And Moshe, they are still back up there?
Yes.
Okay. I know we talked about it. I just don't know if it ever happened. So there you go. So that's good. So if you ever need it for any reason, or if you just want to see what it looks like, it's on the website.
Terrific. Thank you. Anybody else?
How do we transport it? If we have it for Shabbat?
If it's going like from one region close to another, I try to get the somebody from one region either to take it to the next region or meet halfway, or we can ship it, through UPS.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you all.
Sounds great. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Larry, thank you. If you need any more information, Larry, would you give your email address, please?
Sure. Lawrence, LAWRENCE nathanson, NATHANSON, @yahoo.com.
And if you need me, mine is even easier. It's just my first name, which is Creighton, CREIGHTON, @FJMC.org. Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening. And as I said, if we can help with anything further, you have any more questions, whatever, feel free to send either or both of us an email, and we'll be happy to help you out.